Hey folks, it's Ardwulf. We're going to talk today, including some new unwrapping material, about the Spinward Marches. Spinward Marches were, of course, introduced as sort of the default campaign starting place for Traveller. This book dates from 1980, I think, 1979, Supplement 3, The Spinward Marches. And what you got in here were these like one-page maps. It's, of course, one of the little digest-sized books. You got a page of map and then another facing page of stat block for each of the 16 sectors that's in here. Now you also got a little introductory thing at the beginning, and bear in mind this is very early in the evolution of what would become a very elaborate and well-developed official Traveller universe. This is kind of the first piece, one of the first pieces of that. We get these stat blocks. You have to be able to decode this, which is something that's in the rules. I should probably do a video on the UWP or UPP at some point and how to take it apart and make sense of it, because there is a little bit of an art to it. It's not just knowing which place corresponds to what statistic that's relevant to the world. But the idea is that you take these numbers and then interpret them, and you're going to interpret them differently than some other referee. So you're going to end up with a pretty unique world on whatever world you're in, right? But you didn't really you got like a paragraph or two, or short paragraph or two on each of these sectors. Not really rich development by anything resembling modern standards. That was the original publication of the Spinward Marches. And this is like the beloved part of the setting, right? This is where a lot of campaigns have historically started. It's certainly not the only place in the Traveller universe you can set a campaign, far from it, but it's kind of the most traditional place. It is a place that kind of exists in a borderland between the Third Imperium and the Jordani Consulate, and there's sort of a borderland between them, and there's a couple of relatively powerful minor states that exist in that borderland, and a lot of independent worlds. And this is where a lot of the magic of Traveller can kind of happen. So 1979 we saw this. I don't think we saw another Spinward Marches book that just dealt with the Spinward Marches for the remainder of the lifetime of Traveller from GDW until Traveller the New Era came along, and then we got the Regency source book. Now, this isn't really the Spinward Marches source book, it's the Regency source book. The Regency just happens to be in the Spinward Marches. This is a really good book, really small print, as you can see. And we get here a great deal more. This actually covers areas outside the Spinward Marches, too. Because it covers the whole Regency, right? We actually get quite a bit of, we get little descriptive snippets of the worlds, and we get times, you do two different versions of the world based on when the campaign happens, because interstellar civilization has largely collapsed in Traveller the New Era, which is one of the reasons why a lot of people didn't like it. So this was about 1990, this was 1995. Not long after that, Game Designers Workshop, of course, went away, and it was not super crystal clear where Traveller was going to end up. It went through the hands of Imperium Games, which was around for 2 or 3 years before they collapsed under their own ineptitude. And Steve Jackson Games picked up a license for Traveller and released a whole bunch of material under the GURPS system. Now, some people don't like these materials. Some people do like these materials. I personally think there's a lot of good stuff in there. I don't like the GURPS system for Traveller. I think it's mechanically too heavy, and that, this is me talking, right? I like heavy stuff. I don't think it's a good fit for Traveller for any of a variety of reasons. In particular, there's a lot of issues with this book. This is the GURPS Traveller volume on the Spinward Marches. And it does something that previous volumes didn't do, which is give you a huge section of background at the beginning of the book, talking about corporations and political structures and stuff like that. Here's the different states and alien races and the marches, and then it goes subsector by subsector and actually gives you a little article for each world. which is something that had never really happened before. I mean, the idea was that you would take that universal code and interpret it, right? Nope, this interprets it for you. This is specifically where the book goes wrong. Not in doing so necessarily, although I disagree with that too. It's that it actually messes some things up and gets some parameters incorrect. Nevertheless, I think a lot of the GURPS Traveler line is worthwhile, and you can get it all in electronic format nowadays. I have it all in physical format. Then, at some later point, Mongoose also licensed Traveler from Far Future Enterprises, and we got the first edition of Mongoose Traveler, and they produced a Spinward Marches sourcebook as well, which kind of strikes a balance between the behind the claw approach. So for each, you get, again, a huge quantity of background here, but then when it starts going into the individual areas, subsectors, you'll get like a lot of detail on two to four worlds in each subsector, and then everything else is again left up to you to interpret. But this is, again, it's the classic Traveler setting. This is a really good book. This is out of print now, but I'm pretty sure you can get it electronically. Highly recommended, except that there is a new version of the Spinward Marches available from Mongoose Publishing. It is this book, Behind the Claw. It borrows the sort of in-setting name for the area behind the claw. If you look at the map, it kind of makes sense. For the areas like across the Great Rift from where most of the Third Imperium is. And this is brand new and is a huge hardcover, much larger than anticipated. But that much larger than anticipated by me, anyway. Very thick. And it has a map too. Okay, cool. Let's look at that in a minute. I didn't know it had a map. Holy cow. Traveler Companion, which is out. So this is 290 pages or so it's a large book. The map, let's actually look at the map, because there's going to be something interesting here as well, which I did know. This actually covers two sectors, the Deneb sector and the Spinward Marches. Now, this is a big format. This is definitely oversized. One side is going to be Spinward Marches. The other side is going to be the Deneb sector. It's quite attractive. I don't know how well this sort of light gray space map is coming off on video. I guess I'll see when I look at the video. But it's also cool that I would put this, like if I was running a campaign here, I would put this under plexiglass and let my players write on it. This is so big I can't unfold the whole thing. Half of this map is actually about the same size as like a standard game map, like the 22 by 34 type map. It's not quite that big, but it's close. So this is a huge map. Very much the same style that Mongoose tends to do. It's quite glossy. Actually, it's not double-sided. How about that? Is there? Oh, look at that. There's two maps. Okay. There's two non-double-sided maps. One of the Spinward Marches and one of an identical style, and one of the Deneb sector. One inside the front cover and one inside the back. So let's take a flip through the book. I've been looking forward to getting my hands on this for quite some time. All right, so really perfunctory table of contents. Introduction, charted space, the Spinward Marches, Deneb index. That's not a super useful table of contents. On the other hand, you flip one page and I'm like, oh, cool, that's cool. I like this map a lot. Although, this does kind of give the impression that the Great Rift is everything that's not enclosed by a heavy line here, which is not the case. The Great Rift kind of comes in here and extends out this way as well. But the map itself looks really good. The borders here are political borders and doesn't really show you where the Great Rift is. That's kind of a missed opportunity. It's a striking map. I like it, but missed a little bit of a missed opportunity there. Anyway, so here's our introduction. Here's our charted space. The very basics. Talks about different types of starports, star towns, downports, high ports, intersystem transport, orbiter surface. And then here's a very handsome book inside. I got to say, I like some of the stuff they're doing with the formatting here. Here's our Spinward Marches. This is where you're going to get your first look. If I can link this in the video description, travelermap.com, which is a fully interactive online version of the map of the entire Traveler universe, including but not limited to the Spinward Marches. So do check that out. It's a really pretty cool resource. And you can like click down into individual planets too. What does this green stuff mean? I don't know. No, I don't know what that is. Abyss Rift. What is that? That is not a feature I'm familiar with. Okay. So here's the history of the Spinward Marches, which talks, of course, probably starts with the Darians, actually. It does. States and peoples, the Aslan, the Darians. We're going to have the Sword Worlds, the Federation of Arden, the Droin, the Vargur, the Jordani, various minor races, and the Third Imperium, where we have a big section. And then we go into the individual subsectors. And then we get, again, it looks like it's maybe a little more. I see 3 developed systems here in the Kronor subsector. That's more than would be the average in the previous volume, in the older book. Now there is it does look like they give you more systems, but still there's like, in any given subsector, there's going to be somewhere between 20 and 30 systems they're giving you. Instead of 2 or 3, it looks like they're giving you, say, 3 to 5 or 3 to 6 in each subsector, which is totally fine by me. All right, and we got some interesting other things that pop in, like here's a gun that you can find on this specific planet. Here's the Regina system. A lot of extra background and stuff. This is going to, I strongly suspect this is going to come to be the definitive version of this. Let's look at, since I don't know what this is, let's look at the Lanth subsector. This green thing that's in the middle of the map. The Abyss Rift, unofficial designation given to a region of space lying spinward of the Spinward Main as it runs through the Lanth subsector. Its actual extent is nebulous. It's associated with jump space phenomenon and a higher than average rate of misjumps. Okay, so presumably we're going to see some. Here's the Cullis Rift. This is actually a dead pocket, though. Maybe I need to look at the map. So that's something that I think was introduced in the Great Rift box set, where these kind of like space parts of space where jump tends to be a little flaky. Of course, the Darians are worthy of an entire video on their own. The 208th Fleet. Well, that's cool. And Five Sisters subsector. There's a research. So scattered throughout the book, there's additional goodies. Like here's a research submarine, for example, which is kind of cool. Dromedary. It's a 50,000 ton hauling ship of some kind. Sounds like. No doubt named after the camel. Here's District 268, which is, I think, one of the better places to set a campaign. Here's the Glisten subsector, or Gliston, which I think is how it is supposed to be pronounced. And then, a little more than halfway through the book, we go to the Deneb subsector, which it looks like I'm going to get the same type of... This is a little closer to like the Imperial Heartland than the Spinward Marches are. And other than some Vargur worlds up on the Corward edge, essentially everything in this sector is going to be part of the Third Imperium. So it's a very different type of sector than the Spinward Marches is. So we have duchies, which are marked on this map. Big section on corporations. This material, at least some of this material in some form, has appeared before. I can tell you that. Ooh, here's a new race. The Glulu? Something like that. I can't put a glottal stop in between two L's. Maybe you can. A whole pile of extra races, actually. Jane's Guide to Spacecraft of Deneb. That's cool. Here's some extra ships and stuff. The Deneb, although there was a Mongoose Traveler First Edition book on the Deneb sector, it's historically been a sector that hasn't gotten that much attention. Longliner. Looks like an overbuilt safari ship. Whole bunch of ships, actually. There's a big thing of ships in here. There's no reason these ships couldn't appear in the Spinrad Marches too, for that matter. Tons of ships. And then we get into the actual sectors. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Detail on 5 systems. So it's a little more built out than the previous version of the Spinrad Marches book. But you get 2 whole sectors in here. There is so much setting in here. Even honestly, you can set a whole campaign in one subsector very handily and never even worry about. And these guys get the short shift because there's hardly anything in them. But here you have 2 entire sectors, 32 subsectors to play with. So this is Traveler Behind the Claw from Mongoose Publishing, and Studio 2 Publishing is, I think, the distributor? I'm not sure if that's exactly the right word to use. Super impressed with what I see here, other than maybe the cartography is not quite as good as I'd like, although the maps, I really like the poster maps. The inside the book cartography is maybe not quite as good as I would like, but otherwise, I am very pleased with what I see in this volume as far as treatment of the subject. Subject that's we've been, as we talked about at the beginning of the video, we've been over this material a couple of times now. I'm very interested to dig into this then and see what improvements Mongoose has made with this very impressive new edition of the Spinrad Marches source book, along with Deneb in this case. It's kind of its own thing, right? It's behind the claw. Both sectors are behind the claw. They're beyond the Great Rift. So thanks for watching. Please give the video a thumbs up. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Do check out the Patreon if you're so inclined. And I'd like to thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Until then, happy gaming.